you think this is going on in your family, the thing you have to remember is it's someone's life.
And then you think, it's our lives really, isn't it?
No, not someone else. You. What? Are you taking piss?
Oh, sorry, forgot we're not smoking inside.
Fucking hell.
The rest of it, baby.
When I was 12, my daddy banged his head on a board that were hanging outside a toilet at Gate Market. For months the pain was so bad, you know, that he were bashing his head against the wall. You know, then he died of a brain tumour. Well, I were on doorstep of going to one of them, you know, one of them grammar schools. But my mum couldn't cope, you know, so I stayed at home, you know, stayed off school. I'd always known from very little that my dad had been married before, and I said to my mum one day, "Is he really my dad?" Got my face slapped that hard, I was told never to mention it again. When I was 12, I came in from school one day and Mum, she was proper pissed out of her head like, and she said, "You know you asked me years ago if he were your real dad. Well, he's not."
I didn't know my dad, my real dad.
She told me my real dad's name, it was Jeff.
When I was 2, Mum met Wayne, my stepdad. She had 3 more children by him and also got battered for 12 years. She'd get to the point of leaving him, going to a refuge, and he'd turn up and plead, "I've changed, I have really, I'll never hit you again." So back she'd go, and back he'd start hitting her again.
You know, everything I'd ever believed in were just blown when I was 12.
I was sexually abused with my stepdad. I was 5, but I never told anyone till I was 15. He made me wank him off. If I didn't, he'd hit me. He made me suck it. He said that if I ever told my mum, she'd leave me, abandon me.
At 15, I lost my virginity. They were a big scare, you know. Thought I was pregnant. My mum, she started screaming, "You're a slag!" I knew you'd turn out like me. Not even 16 and you're a dirty slag.
Billy and I used to see each other once a week on a Saturday. And there was this party one night at his friend's house. That's the night I slept with him. I felt loved. He sneaked off to the bedroom. I felt like there was someone there for me.
I left school at 16.
Oh, I'm just 16 and a half now.
Well, my first job was sewing overalls.
I went to work at Yorkshire
in Perth on a YTS scheme. Took home 18 quid, right?
I loved it.
Loved every minute of it until the end of the first month. No, she wanted it all. You know, my mum wanted my whole
She took my wage packet.
all of it. She didn't even leave me enough for my dinners. She smoked 66 a day, right? You know, she was always skint. You know, we had smash for tea. All I wanted to do was get married and have babies. You know, I'd just get a job, a wage until Mr. Righty came along.
Next year, I'm going to college to study hairdressing.
David was my first serious boyfriend. Yeah, I was 17. He used to come round and see me, but late like, and I was always tired after work. Right, he'd kick off if I didn't wait up for him. So I ended it. Yeah, 2 weeks later, my mum says, "Yeah, we've got a new lodger." I says, "Who?" She says, "It's Dave. I've said he can stay, so he can." Well, lost my virginity to him. And ended up marrying him. Day of wedding, he tells me he's lost his job. Well, it must have been the Sunday after, right? I'm preparing my stuff for work when Dave, he puts one chest of drawers on top of the other, puts them up against the door, sits on them and says, "You're not going anywhere." Well, if I went into the kitchen, he'd come into the kitchen to see if I'd taken my wedding ring off. If I went into, you know, the bathroom, he'd come into the bathroom, living room. You know, he tried, but I insisted. He won't come into the toilet with me. He used to say, "If you leave me, I'll find you and kill you." Well, I had very low self-esteem, you know. You know, I had lank, horrible hair, no bosom, rotten teeth, and never had a toothbrush as a child. In a way, I thought if I left him, I'd never find anyone else. We had a son, Grant. and a daughter, Debbie. Yeah, we got a house. We're always really tight with money. You know, like we were very controlling. He were on 12 pints of Guinness a night. He said, I'm not going to stop. I know, I'd try and say stuff like, can't you watch Little Ones for a change? And straight away he'd say, that's woman's work. You wanted babies, I didn't. Left me for our next door neighbour Anita. And we were no great disappointment. Oh, more shock than anything. I mean, she was so ugly. Like back in the bloody bus. Here, Tina!
I was just looking.
Well, I married Alan. Believed I'd finally found the right man for me. You know, the kids loved him, my friends liked him, you know, we shopped together, discussed finances, you know, we shared bills. We shared 4 cans of lager. Well, he's the father of Jamie. Yeah, you could call us happily married. Sunday, October 6th, 1996. Well, he were out fishing.
After that, I just used to sleep out with anyone. It were probably like 30 lads in 6 months. Nothing, none of it meant very much. Not really. That's what my mum said about my real dad. It was just a fling, nothing more. See, all this time I was going with these lads. Stepdad were messing around with me as well.
Sunday, October 6th, 1996. Well, Jamie and Debbie were messing around upstairs, so I sends our Grant up to hurry them up. Comes back down, right, and I'll never forget this. He says, Mum, I'm going to tell you something that'll blow your head off. Tells me what he's overheard, which is our Debbie saying to Jamie, I want you to lick my vagina. Well, there are alarm bells ringing in my head. You know, where's a 10-year-old girl going to hear something like that? Got Debbie downstairs into the living room. I sat her down. Well, she wouldn't tell me at first. Don't know if you're familiar with the process of disclosure.
The school counsellor talked about that.
Yeah, well, I started rattling off names, you know, friends, relatives, neighbours. Last person I thought of was her dad. Yeah, well, I knew she'd say no, but she didn't. She started crying and said, yeah. Just sat and cuddled her and cried, you know. You know, just sat rocking her like when she were a little baby. Just sat rocking her for ages.
There were a 2-year period where he didn't touch me. And then we're after school one day. It were my first year at secondary, yeah. Mum had gone to the shop and I were upstairs getting changed out of my uniform into trackies. And he come in. He's 37, 6 foot, big built. Skinhead, rough looking, and he hadn't shaved. He never shaved close like, and even when he'd had a bath, he still looked dirty. He took me out bed, pulled my pants down, and shoved his dick up me. I was crying because the pain was that bad. I wanted to tell my mum, but I didn't know what to do. So I just locked myself in the bathroom till she came home. He made me go on pill as well. I'll never forget what he said. If you tell your mum, she'll leave you.
Well, Alan told Debbie that I knew what he were doing. So there were no point in telling me. You know, that night, I just felt my whole world and everything in it was shattered. Like a mirror of millions of tiny little shards. There were this party, you know, organised by all school teachers, but leavers and that. I knew my mum wasn't going to let me go, so I told her I was staying at a mate's house, and she found out I was lying. She punched us in the head, but I wasn't going to take it this time. I started screaming back at her, fuck you, I'm still being treated like I'm 6, I'm leaving home. And I'll never forget this. She said, hey, I'll help you. She took my suitcase out the window. I spent that night on the school field, sitting on my suitcase cuddling a teddy.